officially on Facebook on March 13th. The rhetoric from there is almost verbatim from the Hendricks webpage, and I do support responsible growth. I too read the 2030 comprehensive plan several years ago. One of the couple of concerns I have about the apartments is that we have a limit in the comprehensive plan to the number of apartments and multifamily dwellings, which in fact the city has met. Now we could find waivers for that, but it's brought up like we need more. We need more foot traffic, I agree.
3 minutes, Jackie.
Thank you. Size matters. The people who are living across the street in the condos above Eye Candy and the other shops were promised nothing above 4 stories. To put it politely, I think the process chosen by the Hendricks Corporation to put up signs and websites is more than a little troubling. We can do better. We can't undo the choices that they made, but you as a commission can make sure that they listen to all of the people and not just the powerful.
Thank you. We need to keep the side conversations to 0, okay? So we can all hear up here and the people in the audience can hear, so thank you. Who would like to be next? Come on up.
I live in Oconomowoc.
That's fine. Just state your name and your address. Yeah.
All right, Jeff Nepper. I own 608-610 Milwaukee Street. And I know you guys got a tough job. I said this the last time, and appreciate y'all being here, taking care of this. Not 100% sure what I want to say, but I think if you're going to transform a city, then you got to rip down pretty much everything that's there to make it look into something that is transformative. One building does not transform an entire city. I live in Oconomowoc right now, and that place is going gangbusters. And the city of Delafield is definitely losing renters, losing businesses, especially the restaurants. You have to have the foot traffic. It was said earlier that this is a destination to come to place, and it used to be, and it's not necessarily what is needed right now, the foot traffic to sustain the businesses that are here and now, and that ones that have left. And kind of rambling, but you gotta do it. You gotta do it. It's a tough decision to make. It's a great look, and I think the fact that it is not a Lang building, that it is not East Coast look, that it is something different. Every single large city, every single city has different looking buildings in it. Granted, Milwaukee has the Federal Rice Building. We don't want that, right? But Milwaukee does have a lot of different looking properties.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who would like to be next? Chloe in the back, I see your hand. Okay, well, you're each your own person. You get a max of 5 minutes, hopefully 3.
Okay, Chloe Weinschneider, 834 Mill Street. I have been a resident in this community for 68 years, and my husband's been a resident for 83 years. All right. So now, first of all, I want to say I agree with Jackie Valdi, what she has said. Also listening to about our businesses leaving. I have spoken to many of the business people, and they're saying the rent is too high, and that's why they're leaving. The dishonest marketing of a website and the posters making it sound like this is a done deal, and it is not. This is very troubling. The design presented to not blend with the established Delafield architecture, that's why people settled here. And it's been a proven track record. To ignore the city codes, the ordinances, and the comprehensive plan demonstrates not wanting to be a team player. And pushing 21 more units, it saves our quota for multifamily living. I question if the fire department has adequate equipment to service our own present buildings and include this enormous structure. The design is trendy, and it's not classic. Trends are short-lived. Classic is forever. You know, it's like something like the little black dress remains classic. But the polyester men's casual wear came and went.
Thank God.
Hendricks stated that the building this size is necessary to be profitable. Delafield definitely should not relinquish their integrity so that the Hendricks can make profit. It is just too much hardscape and not enough there's no filtering green space for our quality water and flooding avoidance. The bottom line, this is a no project. The underground parking is questionable, along with other issues that have not been brought up, and Ross will talk about that.
Okay, Ross Von Schneider on 834 Mill. Something that hasn't been brought up that needs to be addressed is with change and with progress, we have to look at some other results. In other words, progress on say, the sanctuary. We have a water problem down there with the over runoff and such, and we can go to the Wells condos, and we have another problem there. It seems to be that these things are ignored and looked at as after the fact. The fish hatchery never had a problem with flooding and such until the Wells Street Station condos were put in.
And that's right here, and that has affected the fish hatchery. It has also caused runoff into the Bark River.
And any of the other projects, whether it's the woods or whether it's City Hall and the library, where you have flooding and a water problem, which is very important to be addressed, as well as a new building. I can foresee by looking at the BP landscape, as a young child, I was in that area because it was a kind of a swamp and cattails and a lot of water and boggy and frogs. That's what kind of an area that was. It's all filled up now, but I used to catch frogs and take them over to the bass ponds of the fish hatchery and feed them to the fish. That was my entertainment. That's all covered up. The landscape there by the BP is now elevated higher than Main Street. It never was. As you look at the entrance into the fish hatchery, it's a downslope to get in, or it's down toward the parking lot, not at the BP end. So what I'm getting to is, when we start looking at an oversized building that's hardscaped, everything on that end of the land, what's going to happen with the runoff? It's not going.
3 minutes.
It's going to end up going into Milwaukee Street, where the coffee shop, Traders is. And those buildings on the north and south side of Milwaukee Street are going to take. When you stand in front of the coffee shop and look up to the south, that's built up a lot higher than it used to be when I was younger. And not that I can't get up there with my old legs, but it's a different height now. And that's going to cause flooding down below. And it's something that, of all of the other benefits and so forth of progress, we have to look at how to deal with the water problem. You're covering up a marsh.
Yeah, this is all marsh, here, 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 here. This is all marshland.
We talk about underground garage space. What's going to happen when you dig down that far? Well, I can foresee the garage being up above ground, and then we haul in a lot of dirt to make a bunker around it, so we can call it underground.
That's what happened at Wall Street Station. That definitely flooded the fish hatchery. And that's in the same block as the Hawks Inn.
So from the triangle down on Milwaukee, Maine, where they split at the east end, to the Wells Main Street triangle at this end, we've got we create water problems and runoff with each one of these projects. And so I think we need a smaller footprint building. Factory-wise, that image is not compatible. We've had, Delafield isn't a factory town, and to put up a building of that design, I think is wrong. We've had an envelope factory after World War II, little Quonset hut on Lake and Wells. We had a bowling pin factory on Wells. The only other thing we could have is as far as a factory, is maybe something that produces wooden handles for paintbrushes.
All right, guys.
Okay, I'll leave this with you to look at
Time's up.
it.
Yep.
The Bark River's here, that pond is still in existence, it crosses Genesee Street. The next pond is where your post office is built. That is filled in, and that pond that's not good ground either. The next pond was totally eliminated. The fourth pond is still in existence, and the fifth pond are your soccer fields.
All right, thank you very much.
So,
Who'd like to be
this is a
next,
good
ma'am? Come on
solid
up.
building area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Valerie Dixon. I am not a resident of Delafield. I live in Heartland. Do you want my business address, which is here in Delafield, or my home? For the record. Does it matter? 711 Wells Street, number 110. I own a storybook ballet studio. We are just completing our 5th year here. I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, where my friends over at Belfry are hoping for economic growth and attracting businesses and residents to the community in order to increase foot traffic here. I'm actually one of the businesses that do increase foot traffic here. We are a destination. People don't walk by my studio and say, ooh, I want to join there. They come because of the type of program we provide. So I'm pretty proud to say we have about 200 families that come into our studio a week for classes. And those 200 families, maybe 10% are Delafield residents, and the rest come from our surrounding communities. When I was pregnant with my first child 11 years ago, I came to shop at Tadpoles for her. And I loved this little town. I was living in Madison. And I had heard about this little store called Tadpoles in this super cute town in Delafield. I'm from New York. Wisconsin was kind of scary for me. But everybody told me that I needed to come to Delafield to check out this quaint little town, of which I did. And at that moment, I thought, you know, if I were to ever open a business, it would have to be here. It was so charming. Business fronts were full, great diversity of businesses. I thought I could totally fit in there. 11 years later, I opened my business in Delafield because of the charm that the community had at that time. All these empty storefronts right now does not add to that charm. My families who come in to take their children to my ballet school that do frequent the local businesses like Belfry and the coffee shops and Great Harvest and kind of walk around while their child is twirling in my care, have commented on how sad it is that there are so many empty storefronts. And they kind of just sit in my lobby now, and that doesn't do anything for the local community. And so, although I don't rely on foot traffic, I wanted to speak about how I'm one of those businesses that bring foot traffic to the community. And I'm tiny. I'm not as big as Montage. I have a very specialized business. If you don't want your little one to dance ballet, you're not coming to see me, right? But I want my families to be able to come to a community that continues to grow, that a community where there is a company like Hendrix who's willing to invest. I'm a tiny little ballet studio, and they actually worked with me on how it is that they can position me better in the community. I moved from Milwaukee Street to Wells Street in order to support my growth. I'm continuing to grow. But at the same time, I'm very concerned about my local business friends that are leaving or that have left. And I have 2 personal friends who were interested in opening a business, a startup, very unique, not another store that you might see here already, but decided that Economawalk was going to be a much better option for them because it seemed like the community there supported new business growth and business development. And that made me sad. So no matter how well I can speak about how much I love Delafield, and I picked Delafield to be the place where I opened my first business and hopefully my last, I want that to continue to move forward. And I feel that we have a responsibility to continue to invest in this community. I'm not so concerned about what this building looks like. I actually tend to prefer a community that has diversity and attracts diversity. I think that I am in complete support, and I would love to join this 2030 campaign as a non-resident, but as a business owner, because I think that we do have a voice as well, because we picked this community to open our businesses in. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Great.
Did you need my address? I gave it to you.
You already gave it to us.
All set. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Who'd like to be next? Ma'am, come on up.
So I'm an Oconomowoc resident, but I do have a business at 708 Genesee Street. My name's Carrie Munn, M-U-N-N. So I've had Element Style Boutique for 7 years, and I also had Blue Iris for 16 years. I'm in support of the new development. I believe I know how to run a successful boutique, as I've been in the business for 23 years in Delafield. I am worried, though, with the path Delafield's going down. Traffic is dwindling, and I have to work harder and harder just to maintain my numbers. My numbers used to be increasing, they are not anymore. I recently have been seriously thinking maybe I should move to a town that is more progressive, i.e. Oconomowoc. I think everyone thinks Delafield's a gold mine, but without traffic, it is not. I am in favor of the building design. It's progressive. I think a bad example of a city that has strict building codes is Germantown. It looks ridiculous, stale, and not progressive. I love Delafield, and I want to stay here. But if the city is not willing to be more progressive with business, I might be looking to move. I would like to thank the citizens that have come tonight to be a voice for the businesses of Delafield. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to be next? Come on up, sir.
Hello, my name is John Rasmussen, and I'm not a resident of Delafield, but I do own Great Harvest Bread Company here in Delafield as well as Oconomowoc, and to kind of build on what Carrie has mentioned. One of the reasons why I came to Delafield back in 2011 is because of the growth potential of Delafield, and it's been wonderful to me. And so wonderful, I opened up another store in Oconomowoc. I concur with a lot of the previous comments about this city and what the Hendrix project is going to bring to Delafield. But the reason why I went to Oconomowoc is because of the growth potential there as well. And sure enough, we've been there for 2 years, and we're seeing consistent growth. When I look at the rendering, the first rendering, is very happy to see, because it not only is a mix of retail and residential, but also business offices. And my business is all three of those venues is what builds my business and continue to grow it. But when I saw the second rendering, I know there's some question as to whether it fits with Delafield or not, but if you recall, if you've been to Oconomowoc, one of the iconic buildings in Oconomowoc is the corner of 67 in West Wisconsin. And it's very similar to what building we see right there, right on the corner. It's a Good Samaritan has come in and built that and renovated it. I don't think we need to have cookie cutter buildings. The first rendering looks a lot like the building that I'm in right now, which is a beautiful building, but it's a continuation of that, and I think we do need the diversity. And when I saw this building, it reminded me a lot of what Oconomowoc is doing with an iconic building, and I'd like to see this rendering right here build in Delafield and see what we can bring into this city to make it even more advantageous for all of our businesses that are in the community right now. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Who'd like to be next? Back there, come on up.
Hello, my name is Tim Turnock, 304 Fieldstone. I've lived in Delafield for over 35 years, and in that time I've seen it not a destination city, as back in those days, about one out of every 2 or 3 storefronts was vacant. I'm a small businessman, retired. Business is tough. The restaurant business is even tougher. I'm not also associated with the Oconomowoc Chamber of Commerce, as some people may be tonight. What I'm confused about is that I've seen 2 renderings of the structure in question. I don't know which one that we're actually speaking to. They've both been on display tonight. I've talked to some of my neighbors, and all we want for the building to be is consistent. We don't want another Milwaukee warehouse. The rendering that I see on the screen right now, to me, is just that. I think the Hendricks project is great. I'm all for it in every other way. Just be consistent with the other structures that we have in town. That's all that my neighbors and I would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Who'd like to be next? Come on up, sir.
Mike, this is my first time. So.
Sure. Name and address.
Recent to Delafield, just about a year ago.
Name and address.
Jack Dembski, 318 Bleecker Street. And got wind of this project in this hearing a little late. Heard about it this morning. And from what I've heard so far, I would challenge you guys. I came here because I saw potential of what this community would be by the time I was your age. As it would grow and as it would increase, as it was going to age. And to innovate and to really build on a new progressive movement here for the next generations to call their home and make their home would be my biggest concern. I see this project as a way to bring something different into the town, and I see it as a way to really bring something that's going to highlight the best part of Delafield, its people, and its ability to continue commerce on a street level. That's it. Pretty simple, pretty short.
Great.
Thank you.
Jack, when you made the comment about being our age, why did you look at Kent and I and not and not the guys with the white whiskers?
Still the glare coming from this way, so I feel like I had to go. No, you guys are okay. Thank you. It is what it is.
All right, thank you. Who would like to be next? Come on up, ma'am. Suzy?
I prefer it well experienced.
Yeah, mature.
Hi, my name is Suzy Thompson, and my husband and I bought a home in Delafield 23 months ago. We live at 700 Milwaukee Street, which is on the corner of Oneida and Milwaukee. I've been a realtor for 28 years. In the 28 years I've been in real estate, my husband and I originally bought a home in Elm Grove. And in Elm Grove, in 1998, the downtown area was gorgeous. We bought there because we loved the idea. We would walk from Highland Drive across the railroad tracks through the neighborhoods to get to the village. It was fun. That changed in a very short amount of time. It changed quickly, and it was very sad. When the the downtown village area of Elm Grove changed, village taxes went up. When we sold our home there 9 years later because of a relocation, the taxes on that home within 6 years doubled. Losing your commercial taxes has a great impact on the people who live in the city. So having the growth of Hendricks is nice. I have to be honest with many of you, when I looked at that picture of the change, I looked at it and I thought, I don't really like that. It's different. I bought an 1850 home, and we've spent a tremendous amount of money renovating that home. If you've driven by, we have a mix on our property of the original 1850 structure, a garage that was built in 1960 with a totally different roof, and in working together with the city, we did an addition to the garage and added the style of the house with a gable roof to the hip roof of the garage, bringing the two together and merging them beautifully. So when we say we want everything to be one style, think again. It's not what is most appealing, and it does not draw in people of all different parts of the country as having some choices. When I look at this, the more I look at it, personally it reminds me of Cedarburg and the old woolen mill. That's a very different building than the homes. There is a variety of architecture in most cities. So don't try and make this all a square peg in a square hole. Sometimes a round peg in a square hole works well too, even though the water leaks around the edges. I don't want water leaking around by my house, by the way. So I understand what is being said about please be aware of what the soil conditions are, and soil boring test used to be more common than, we don't even hear about that in real estate very much anymore, requiring soil boring if we're worried about what is underneath. And I don't think there are any frogs there anymore, but we do have frogs by my house. So I guess we have enough water by my house. So be open to the different ideas, having the ability to have shops that draw in a variety of people and having more parking. I think Hendricks are trying to do everything. It's wonderful to see how many people came tonight and are taking part, and thank you to all of you because you put up with us.
Thank you very much. Who would like to be next? Got a lot of people here. Come on up, ma'am.
Thank you.
My name is, sorry. My name is Carol McAllister. I live at 1925 Moran End in the city of Delafield. Couple of comments. When I say I come from Delafield, my acquaintances say, oh, what a charming place. You must really enjoy living there. We do. We've been there for 32 years, and my parents were there for 27 years before that. Couple of comments. If the only way Hendricks can make money is to build that, they shouldn't be trying to do it. It's huge, it's gigantic. It goes against a lot of our codes, and I see no reason why we should make special consideration for Hendricks so they can make money. I would have no objection to doing the other rendering that we saw very briefly. At least it fits in. But that is an industrial building, and they very clearly say on their website it is an industrial building. So I would much prefer, having the development within our codes and not looking like a factory building. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Who'd like to be next? Okay. All right, come on up.
My name is George Irwin. I live in Brookfield. I do have a connection with Delafield that goes back a number of years. And I showed up here tonight because I have a legal relationship with Hendricks. I act as their lawyer. But I do have a history with this community. I've been a real estate development attorney for almost 40 years. In 1983, I brought one of the first subdivisions to this sleepy community. I did 2 subdivisions in the early 80s. And in the 90s, I had the good fortune of being Bob Lang's lawyer, and I participated in building many of his buildings and getting the approvals for those buildings. And I can tell you with a straight face, profit wasn't a motivation, finding tenants wasn't a motivation, and sustainability for a community was solely dependent on his ability to continue to serve those properties. We put a grocery store in. That grocery store failed despite heavy subsidy. I next had an opportunity, because of another client relationship, to actually represent in the 90s the entity that purchased all these properties. And in the 2005, 2007 timeframe, when we had the Great Recession, I can tell you that we went from 90% occupancies down to 60 and 50% occupancies. We had rents decline from the high 14s to $9 a square foot. The properties were not sustainable. And they had enough, and luckily Hendricks came along and said, we like this community, we can do something here for this community, and it is very important to recognize that what you have is a tremendous opportunity that should not be spilled. It's in your hands, it's water, it has to be sustained. There are a lot of buildings that didn't work in the 2000 time frame that Bob built. Their functionality didn't work. They're hard to maintain. Tenants don't want to pay for pretty. They want to pay for functionality. And that's what we experienced in the 2000s. We need to have a proper mix of economic development in this community in order to sustain all of the businesses, not just the cutesy. So they didn't know I was going to come in and talk, but I just wanted to give you the opportunity to understand. I know what's been going on in this community for about 40 years, and I've seen it. And I hope that you look at this with the open mind of recognizing that economic sustainability must be a paramount for any community. Thank you.
Thank you. Who'd like to be next? Sir, come on up. I think you came in late. Just a reminder, name and address, please.
I did come in late. My name is Bajay Noor. I live part-time in Delafield.
Please speak into the microphone so we can hear you on TV.
Bajay Noor on TV. Hi, Mom.
Give your address, please.
Sorry?
Give your address.
Yes, 601 Genesee, and we also had a business at 524 for about 7 years. My wife and I had a medical office that we moved out of the city, and we broke our lease in one of them. We had 2 of them, and Mr. Attorney over there was signed the contract. And the reason why we moved it, we actually got a big software telemedicine company that's similar to the software over here, where we decided we can't grow here in this city, so we had to move it elsewhere. The first point I would like to make, I grew up in the south of France, and it's a beautiful 13th century mixed with 14th century, mixed with 16th century, and every building, what makes it gorgeous is the diversity. You have different buildings, different structures, different beauty, and I think for once, I look at the different structure and I think that's very important. As many other people say, I'm not going to reiterate everything, but that's very important for businesses to bring that here. I'm here actually coming back because I'm looking at this business office, I'm like, this is great. This is a great opportunity to really attract young people to even work for you as software developers or what have you. This is something that would attract businesses to come. The other thing I would like to actually point out when we talk about transformation. Well, I'm a Christian, where transformation does not mean necessarily a complete change of my physical appearance. I'm also a surgeon. So a physical appearance from transformation comes from the inside out. You can still maintain the integrity and the quality of the place, but you're transforming everything around it. So the transformation here, I think what they meant was, we're going to make this place much better. When we talk about character, we're going to make our character transform to a better character. So in here, I think the buildings are, or this particular structure, I think is going to create a new character. And honestly, the last point I would like to make, if I was the Hendricks group, it feels like we're playing Frogger game with them. We're like, maybe we want it, maybe we don't want it. And I'm not sure if they're all here or not, or any of them, but 3 million to them is nothing. So to me, if I was them, and we're going to give them the runaround, I would probably, I would say, forget the 3 million. Let's forget these people. So this is a great opportunity that we like George said, that we shouldn't let pass through our hands. And it's very important to understand the diversity. It's been happening for centuries. It happens in all over Europe. You don't go and see any little village very similar. That's the charm of it. You go in Germany and you have the romantic road, and every village has different structures and different styles and different buildings. And that's very important. The same structure is not appealing. If I walked in here in a jogging pants and jogging short of polka dot pink, it would not be appealing. So that's the idea. So those are the 3 points. Structure should be differentiated. We should actually be looking favorably on transformation. And the third one is, let's do this before they change their mind. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. No clapping, guys. No clapping. Good or bad. Let's be respectful to everyone. No clapping. Ma'am, come on up.
Hi, I'm Paula Hornbeck. I actually live in North Prairie, but I have a business here. I own Eye Candy at 637 Genesee Street. Eye Candy's been there for 11 years. And so I was originally a Lang tenant for a short period of time, then Steiner Group, and now Hendricks. Hendricks moved me from where I was on Milwaukee Street to Genesee Street because the way they explained it to me is they're being very strategic about what they want to do in this town to make it viable and successful. And it was a tremendous increase of my business by putting me right on Genesee Street. I'm very supportive of this beautiful building and the rendering here. I have a lot of friends in town here that have businesses here. I've yet to speak to a single one that does not support what Hendricks is planning to do. I understand that there's certainly residents that want to keep it looking the way it has, but we really have to look at the future of Delafield and what it can be, not just now, but as we go forward. Oconomowoc is drawing not only the businesses, but our customers. And that's going to hurt all of us. A good friend of mine, Amy, who owns Barn Owl, is leaving, and part of it is lack of traffic. And the only way that all of the businesses downtown here are going to be able to survive is by having customers. My business, I'm a destination. I am not nearly as reliant on people walking by the store that will suddenly decide to buy a pair of glasses, but many of my friends are, and we all work together to make this a viable community. And I think that I absolutely agree with the gentleman that was just here who said that we don't want to lose this opportunity. Hendricks is offering us something fabulous. Don't let them walk away from it and leave that ugly, empty corner the way it is now. So thank you for listening.
Great. Thank you very much. Who'd like to be next? Come on up, sir.
My name is Dan Kleckner. I'm on 2010 Milwaukee Street. I've been a resident of Delafield for 35 years. Here's my basic statement. This sounds to me like a big business trying to force a small community to change their rules so they can make more money. It's that simple. That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Who'd like to be next? Come on up, Matt.
My name is Matthew Willert. I am a co-owner of Stephen Paul Designs, and I guess I chose to come up here and voice my support for the Hendricks Corporation's proposed building, because along with all the other business owners here, we feel there is a large hole in the middle of our city that needs to be filled. It is empty, and a lot of us business owners have seen what has transformed in our community already. This large corporation has come in, and you don't go into a community looking for large profits by putting millions of dollars into just restorations of the buildings. We are seeing this happen. We are holding a lot of trust that the responsible development will happen and the economic growth will follow. We've been business owners here for going on 12 years, and as everyone here knows, that Steve and I here, owning a small jewelry store, are 100% committed into our community. We are supporters of the Delafield Block Party, presenting sponsor for 9 years in a row. We are members of the Friends of the Bark River, which some of the board members here are proud members of also. We've been in the dirt. We've helped. All of the stuff that we've been working towards has been to increase foot traffic, increase community, increase a community that is together. And I think this project really fills the hole that completes our downtown, and I really look forward to seeing the growth and really hope to be here for many, many years to come.
Great, thank you very much. Who'd like to be next? Calling once, come on up, back there in the last row. Yep, name and address, please.
My name's Katie Volk, and I live at 426 Bleecker Street. I grew up in Neshota and have lived in the city of Delafield for 3 years now, and I am in favor of a responsible development on this lot that would be compatible with the current look and architecture of downtown Delafield. I feel the current design that I have seen advertised on their website and on signs throughout downtown Delafield is not the quaint and charming Delafield that everyone describes when they talk about how unique our town is. My concern is that if this building gets approved and the height and other restrictions are not abided by and conditional uses are permitted, what is to stop a future development, whether owned by Hendricks or not, from requesting the same? Oconomowoc has been mentioned a few times, and they have recently developed new condos, which I believe are about 5 or 6 stories right near the lake. And personally, my husband and I chose not to build our home in a city like that. We chose Delafield because it didn't have buildings that big and a style like that. I understand that the developer and the business owners need to be profitable, but I would hope that a compromise can be made. That would not change the city's current restrictions and regulations, because I think that those are what make Delafield so great.
Thank you very much for the comments. Who'd like to be next? Ma'am, come on up.
My name is Nancy Keyes, and I live at 1526 Milwaukee Street. And I'm not kind of on either side of this fight because I moved here to retire, and I like the old feel of Delafield, but I understand economic growth. My concern is traffic. Milwaukee Street is horrible. Right now, I can spend, 15 minutes driving. Well, that's not true, but I can have 15 cars in front of me driving from 83, where you make the turn, to get to First Street, to make a left-hand turn, to be able to go around to get to my garage. If I walk to a neighbor's across the street, I could get stuck there for 5 minutes, and that is the truth, because of the traffic, and you can't get back across on your side of the street. So, as the elderly couple who's lived here longer than I have stated, the residual part of this is a concern of mine, the traffic. How many more cars are we now going to have running to Sendik's and Kohl's at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon and cause further issues for those of us who live on Milwaukee Street? It's a residential area, and it's kind of scary sometimes. So that's my concern. We have all of these new apartments, which have all these new cars, which are going to have to go someplace. And I'd be real happy if you'd guarantee me that they'd go on 94 and then go shopping, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, thank you.
Great, thank you very much for your comments. Who would like to be next? Who would like to be next? Come on up, sir.
Hello. Too long. My name is Brian Kennedy. I live at 2818 Peninsula Avenue, Delafield. I've lived in Delafield for the past 6 years. Prior to that, I spent 20 years in the town of Summit, about a mile from downtown Delafield. And I've always enjoyed everything Delafield had to offer and what Bob Lang did for this community. Prior to that, I grew up on Okachi Lake, and I remember when there was nothing here in downtown Delafield. And today, sitting here, I feel like I've been transported back into my college days back in Stevens Point in an economics class. And what I feel like we all have sitting before us is a pure economic case study that we all need to look at and see what happens if you have properties that are becoming vacant and you have an opportunity for a company like Hendricks, which I have seen some of their other buildings throughout the country, and everything they do is state of the art. As one of the ladies here earlier spoke, that she saw renderings in a gymnasium up the street. They own that gymnasium where she saw these renderings, and my Lord, I like to tell my friends when I'm trying to say, hey, you guys got to come work out with me at B Fitness. It's the Ritz-Carlton of, and it's true. And people come in, they're like, wow. So they have a track record of coming into a community and becoming strong strategic partners, which, going back to the case study story, I think it's fantastic. And what we all have in front of us is, let's get this right. I've heard people talk about the Prestwick, and I don't know much about it, but I do know there was a possibility of 300 employees maybe a couple blocks away, which I know Revere's would love that at lunchtime, and I know Amy would love that also at lunchtime. So I strongly approve this. I feel like I'm a fashionable guy, and that building looks phenomenal. And I would love to see every building here just fully flourishing with success and grinning faces from the owners. And I feel competitive too in nature. I have a lot of friends that live in Oconomowoc. I hate that Oconomowoc is now becoming a cooler place than Delafield. Sorry for being materialistic, but I have a lot of pride here with Delafield, and I feel we are slipping. And I hope you folks see that you have a great opportunity with the Hendricks group to set this case study right. Okay?
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who would like to be next? I know there's somebody else. Otherwise, I'm going to call once. Okay?
I was not going to speak,
but
Okay.
why not? My name's Leslie Moran. I live at 116 Hickory Court in Delafield. I've been a resident here for 11 years with my husband and 3 children. We moved here from Michigan. And the town that we moved from in Michigan, called Northville, is so much like Delafield. It is uncanny, down to the clock tower in the town square. When we drove in here, we thought, holy cow, we're home. This is amazing. The charm, the boutiques, the businesses, the restaurants, just uncanny how much it is like our former hometown. When we were visiting a few years ago, ironically, the quaint downtown area of Northville, Michigan, put up a building so similar to this, again, uncanny. And from what I understand from my friends who are on the planning commission in that city, mentioned that there was a very similar type of concern by the residents. And it turned out that it was unfounded because the concerns were it wasn't quaint enough, it looks very similar to this, but frankly, it added to the character of the town. The diversity made it much, was very well appreciated, and I think what the problem was, and maybe the problem that I was having, like Suzy had said, when I first saw this rendering, I thought, holy cow, that's huge. I don't know that I can get behind that. But I think, frankly, looking at a empty lot right now, anything is going to seem enormous. And from what I understand, even though, yes, there's some concern about height, I think what I've heard is that it actually will be lower in elevation than where Great Harvest is and Eye Candy, from what I understand. Is that true, John? I don't know. And I also was a little wondering, are the 87 parking spaces in underground going to be public parking spaces? I would hope so, versus just for tenants and folks like that. But just from my point of view, this design has grown on me, and I'm actually very excited about it. I have a 25-year-old son who just moved to Denver, went to visit him, and that area it's communities, neighborhoods. There are buildings like this interspersed all throughout. It's vibrant, it's growing, people are compelled to move there. And I don't think it would end up detracting from our community at all. I think it would actually be a benefit. And I can't believe I'm saying it, because 3 weeks ago I thought, oh, I don't know. Now, yes, I'm 100% behind it. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Who else would like to speak? Are there any other people that would like to come up and speak at citizens' comments?
I would.
Come on up.
I'm not speaking for myself tonight. I've done this many times, though. I'm speaking for my neighbor, Gerald and Lynn Holton, at 485 Lillian Court. Hello. Since the paper has chosen to lump my thoughts with others, I thought I would clarify for the record my observation and opinion. Development of this lot is not the issue. Design is. You are supposed to be 50-plus years of the city's history and success. Why mess with success? As support and backing, you have a historic downtown guidelines, a specific zoning code and ordinances that are derived from not one but 2 consecutive master plans. I believe a third is contemplated. Public support is also added by the several citizen surveys included and considered in the adoption of all of the above. What Delafield needs and envisions is and has been clearly stated. All stated goals revolve around preservation, enhancement, quality of life, continued uniqueness, incorporated into reasonable development. Not one goal calls for transformation of our downtown or business district. Personally, I fail to see the need. The present colonial, nautical, and repurposed usage creates diversity in downtown and is its charm and desirability. So does its small scale inconsistency. Without it, we are all a drive-by community. The present downtown colonial design has withstood the test of time by 400 years. The adjacent residential to the east has recently witnessed a healthy resurgence. Smaller, older cottages are being bought up and rehabbed in a complementary manner to add to this charm, not to mention along the lakefront. What precedent would you be encouraging for the future tear-down rehab in business district? What do you want Delafield to look like? Last I heard, Delafield does not have the infrastructure of unlimited rechargeable water for fire protection sprinklers, nor fire equipment necessary for 4 more stories. My honest assessment of the current proposed design is it is an insult to the integrity of Delafield. It would not only stick out as a sore thumb in a square peg in a round hole, it would dominate the heart of downtown in a non-complimentary manner. The parking in front concept is urban tacky, and all that would be seen at ground level. Architecturally, it is lacking detail similar to Wells Street apartments. I failed to see a single feature that says Delafield. What I see is Third Ward, the Collection, the Corners, Bayshore, which is currently under redesign. Just like those other places, I do not go to unless I have to, and certainly do not want to live near. Most local business owners do not live here, but favor and promote this proposal because it would help them maintain their current uncongested commute to their 10 to 5 shops with Saturdays and Mondays off. Stipulations that are not possible or available in higher traffic venues. All are the restaurants offering to open for lunch, or just because most people work, will the shops extend to the evening or Sunday hours to service the influx of customers they foresee in this development? Or is it only the citizens of Delafield who must adapt? The building design presented at the end of this packet is much more adaptable and possible in acceptance, with underground parking in a plaza that is plausible. Start. For the record, I love and support Delafield. I know why I live here. I shop locally 90% of the time and venture further only if I must. Delafield is a treasure, and we must enjoy and protect it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other citizens' comments? Come on up, ma'am.
Hi,